because those ancient travelers covered the cliffs of the low mountains of La Lindosa with painted figures.
The concept of "they drew it because they saw it" implies that ancient peoples portrayed fantastical animals or alien entities in their artwork.
There's no way we're alone in the universe, right? If aliens did visit Earth, who's to say it didn't happen in prehistoric time?
They discover a number of rock art carvings, which after closer examination date back an estimated 5,200 years.
So let's dive into some rock art that might just hint at ancient humans encountering aliens. Number 1. Arizona Alien Ranch. There's a cattle ranch in Winslow, Arizona, which has something more to offer other than the cows. Ancient rock art made by Native Americans between 5000 BC and the 15th century has more than 3,000 petroglyphs scattered across the 2-mile canyon. Among the carvings of animals, people, and symbols, the ones that depict giants are the most jaw-dropping. These humanoid figures are massive, with some showing hollow bodies containing stars inside them. One carving even has a double helix design, like DNA, right next to a giant trapezoid-shaped figure. There are also figures of creatures that are eerily similar to the gray aliens people claim to see today.
So the fact that we have these virtually identical motifs to me suggests they were all taught by the same teachers.
The trapezoid figure also has curvy lines across its body, giving off major Anunnaki vibe. You know, the deities were worshipped in ancient Mesopotamia about 5,000 years ago. According to their legends, the Anunnaki descended from the sky like a star, landing on a mountain. Without the knowledge of modern science, maybe those people mistook the fiery descent of an alien spacecraft for a shooting star.
Like and subscribe right now, and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week.
Now think about it. On one side of the world, you have carvings of Anunnaki. On the other, you've got these giant humanoid shapes with curvy lines and symbols that scream alien suits. Could this mean ancient civilizations saw the same beings and immortalized them in rock art, each in their own way? Whatever the truth is, these carvings are like puzzle pieces waiting for us to figure out. Number 2. Three-fingered alien. The Grand Canyon is surrounded by all sorts of mysteries, including rumors of ancient Egyptian temples and a Buddha statue once found there. Those things are no longer around, but stone carvings from the 11th to the 18th centuries can be found in the southwest region, known as Grapevine Canyon. There are tons of figures and symbols to unpack here, but one recurring design stands out. Alien-like faces and humanoid figures with 3 massive fingers on each hand and 3 oversized toes on their feet. Now, if someone was trying to draw a human, wouldn't they at least attempt to include 5 fingers? And why make the fingers and toes so disproportionately big compared to the body? These carvings seem to scream that the people here were encountering something not of this world. Number 3. Egyptian hieroglyphs. Let's jump from cave art to the time when humans started preserving knowledge of stone and hieroglyphs. If you guessed ancient Egyptians, you are on the right track. These hieroglyphs are full of mysteries we still don't understand. For example, some carvings show what looks like a helicopter or even a spacecraft. A few hundred years ago, this would have made no sense at all. So, how did people over 3,000 years ago know about these things? And then there's Egyptian mythology, where gods, who look a lot like aliens.
Did an otherworldly spacecraft bring the language of hieroglyphics to the people of ancient Egypt thousands of years ago?
Descend from the sky to share knowledge of science and other advancements. Could these gods have been highly advanced aliens pushing humanity forward? It's worth thinking about, especially when you consider the mind-blowing architecture the Egyptians built. How did they pull it off without help? Maybe they didn't. Number 4. Sego Canyon. Another famous rock art site created by Native Americans is carved along the sandstone cliffs of Sego Canyon in Utah. These carvings are estimated to date back at least 8,000 years and feature more than 80 life-size figures that are simply haunting. The figures have hollow or missing eyes, and their bodies lack arms and legs. Some of them are enormous, suggesting the artists wanted to show them as giants. Now, tell me that doesn't sound like creatures from another world.
You see the antenna there and bug-like eyes, and unfortunately the markings of bullet holes.
Of course, skeptics dismiss it as shamanistic visions or hallucinations from trance-like states. And sure, if someone today said they saw a giant figure with no eyes and antenna-like features, most of us would think they were tripping on something. But is it really fair to dismiss the possibility that prehistoric humans might have encountered aliens? Whether they depict aliens or just visions, there's no denying these images are eerie. Whatever these things were, I think we're all better off not encountering them again. Wouldn't you agree? Number 5. Juticula Rock. There is a big ancient stone in North Carolina with hundreds of carving, and the legends around this stone are as fascinating as the carvings themselves. This stone is known as Juticula Rock, named after Juticula, a slant-eyed giant in Cherokee mythology. Some myths even say he used to rest on it, which makes the stone a big deal in Cherokee culture. But what do those carvings and symbols actually mean? Total mystery. The engravings date as far back as 3000 BC, with some added as recently as 300 years ago. Most people think the carvings represent the spiritual beliefs and practices of ancient tribes. But here's the twist. Some of them look oddly like astronauts or alien. Even Juticula sounds more alien than human if you think about it. Number 6. Birdman. In 1940, 4 teenagers and their dog stumbled into a cave that completely shifted how we view ancient humans. Inside were over 2,000 paintings. These are the famous Lascaux cave paintings in France. While the caves are closed to the public now, you can still check out their replicas.
And in the center of this composition, they have united the 3 principal animals of Lascaux.
Most of the artwork features animals, the bison being the standout, but the Birdman really grabs attention. It's a figure with a human body and a bird's head, kind of like the Egyptian god Khonshu. The Birdman appears lying next to a bison pierced by a spear, with a staff topped by a bird on the other side. Makes you wonder, what did people see 17,000 years ago that inspired them to paint this? Number 7. Moab and Newspaper Rock. Moab is among the best places to see Utah's ancient rock art, like a museum filled with petroglyphs. Firstly, let's look at the stone carvings near Highway 279, which are easy to access. These are carved into the reddish-brown sandstone cliffs along the riverbank. The figures here? They've got triangular bodies and weird heads and are holding what look like big round objects. These carvings are said to be the work of the Fremont Indian, but who or what were they actually depicting? Still a head-scratcher. Then there's the other rock art scattered around Moab. These show even stranger humanoid figures with odd limbs and 3 long antenna-like things sticking out of their heads. And don't forget Newspaper Rock, a site with hundreds of figures and symbols dating back over 2,000 years. The humanoid figures on this rock, they look more like insects, with horns and stubby legs. So, were ancient people imagining cows walking upright? Or were they drawing horned aliens they'd actually seen? Your guess is as good as mine. Number 8. The Cochno Stone. 2 researchers documented a massive and mysterious artifact called the Cochno Stone in 1887. But in 1965, it was buried again to protect it from vandalism. Wondering what's so special about a rock? Well, located in Dunbartonshire, Scotland, this rock, also known as the Cochno Stone, has art on it that dates back more than 5,000 years. Stone features more than 100 archaic symbols carved into it.
Discovered in 1887 by the Reverend James Harvey on a section of farmland near Clodbank in West Dunbartonshire.
Though these designs don't depict any alien or humanoid figure, the engravings are jam-packed with geometric patterns that no one has yet to fully understand. The symbols almost look like a cosmic map, way ahead of its time. In 1937, a scientist even tried scratching lines on it, thinking it could predict eclipses. Well, he wasn't successful. But how did people in 3000 BC manage to create such precise design, and why? Some alien enthusiasts say it's a message from extraterrestrials meant to guide us once we're advanced enough to figure it out. But instead of solving the mystery, humans nearly destroyed it, forcing archaeologists to bury it back in the mud. Number 9. Veracruz Cave. A few years ago, some locals in Veracruz, Mexico, were exploring a cave when they came across something odd. An ancient painting depicting gray aliens and even disc-shaped UFOs. Word got out, and a news channel went to investigate. But after that, nothing. There was no follow-up and no research to confirm how old these carvings might be. The carvings are wild. Those classic irregular-headed aliens interact with what looks like a ruler. The ruler has a human-like face and is even wearing earrings. If these paintings turn out to be prehistoric, they could be the strongest evidence yet of humans encountering alien. They're way too detailed to dismiss as random visions or spiritual symbols. And since no recorded history links them to a specific belief system, they stand out as one of a kind in the region. Number 10. 9 Mile Canyon. Now we're back in Utah, but this time at the 9 Mile Canyon, home to the longest rock art gallery. These petroglyphs go back about 1,500 years, but they haven't been treated kindly over time. For instance, in the 1800s, cowboys thought it'd be fun to use the rocks as target practice. So, those random circles you might see? Yeah, bullet holes. Like most other sites, the art here shows animals, symbols, and scenes from daily life. But one carving stands out.
These petroglyphs provide insights into the daily activities that these early cultures engaged in.
A humanoid figure with 4 tentacle-like legs, 2 large horns, and some kind of strange structure beside it. Could this be the native people's attempt to carve something alien they saw but couldn't quite describe? Number 11. Winnemucca Lake. Let's take a look at the oldest known rock art in North America, found in Nevada. These carvings, dated between 14,800 and 10,500 years ago, are not some lazy afternoon doodling. They're carefully planned designs, though being submerged underwater for years has taken its toll. The most striking feature? Spiral. These patterns keep popping up in ancient rock art all over the world. But what do they mean? They resemble spiral galaxies, the kind we only recognized with telescopes. So, how did people thousands of years ago know about them? Either the world once had an advanced civilization that somehow lost everything except for rock art, which seems unlikely, right? Or ancient humans were visited by beings who shared this knowledge. Maybe these visitors couldn't communicate with words and used drawings instead. Sounds far-fetched? Maybe. But what if it's not? Number 12. Kondoa Irangi. Next, we're heading to some lesser-visited rock art sites in Tanzania. These paintings are estimated to be about 2,000 years old, but the oldest ones could date back a jaw-dropping 30,000 years. The artwork shows animals and some strange humanoid creatures, all traced with red, white, and sometimes black or brown pigment. Some figures seem to depict humans, but others are downright weird, like the ones with heads shaped like tree branches. You'll see scenes of humans hunting and dancing, but those bizarre, alien-like figures, they seem to be watching. Often painted in groups, they look like they're carefully observing humans going about their daily lives.
Are fighting over her. Here we can see a hunter laying a trap. He's laying a trap for some kind of wild animal.
Could this mean aliens were studying us, trying to understand our nature and how we fit into the world? Maybe they saw humans as just another species to examine, like we do with animals today. Number 13. Sky gods or alien. All around the world, there are myths about beings descending from the skies, wielding powers so incredible that people began worshiping them as God. But what if these myths aren't just stories? What if they are records of our ancestors encountering intelligent life from another planet? If you think that's a leap, take a closer look at the beliefs and artwork of the Aboriginal people in Kimberley, Australia. Their caves are filled with rock art estimated to be around 3,800 to 4,000 years old. And among these ancient paintings are depictions of the Wanjinas, figures that might just make you rethink the whole idea of sky beings. The Wanjinas are humanoid figures with white faces, large black eyes, and no mouths. Their heads are surrounded by what looks like a halo, or maybe even a helmet. They don't resemble the Aboriginal people of the region, and their Dreamtime stories only strengthen the case for an extraterrestrial link. Legend says the Wanjinas came down from the Milky Way, bringing rain and lightning. They didn't need mouths to speak because their powers spoke for them. They taught the people laws, punished those who disobeyed, and eventually returned to the skies or vanished into nearby waterholes. These stories might just be myths, but you can't overlook the deep respect the Aboriginal people have for the Wanjina. So, why go to all that effort creating such unique art and telling these stories if they are not grounded in something real? The more you study ancient rock art, the more you realize that it reflects everyday life and the world around the artists. So maybe that's exactly what they saw and decided to immortalize these beings from another world on stone. Number 14. Spiral petroglyphs. So far, we've come across a bunch of petroglyphs featuring spirals. But seriously, what's with ancient humans' obsession with this pattern? Researchers have all kinds of theories. Some say the spirals represent galaxies. Others think they were just powerful symbols believed to bring prosperity. But here's the question. How did this belief spread across the world at a time when travel and communication were practically non-existent? Here's another take. Remember those spiral lights that lit up the sky in Norway a few years ago? Compare that pattern to the spiral petroglyphs. Those lights left everyone stunned, and no one could really explain them. The most logical guess? Alien activity. Now imagine if similar phenomena happened way more often in ancient times. Maybe that's why spirals show up everywhere, as records of these magical sights in the sky. Today, Humans would probably try shooting at something like that, so it makes sense aliens might want to keep a lower profile. But back then, they might have lit up the skies regularly, leaving our ancestors inspired enough to carve these mesmerizing patterns into stone. Number 15. Charima paintings. In Chhattisgarh, India, there's a rock shelter on a hill covered with paintings dating back at least 10,000 years. Some locals actually worship the beings in these paintings, while others pass down stories about them. They say these beings were small in size and came down from the sky in round flying objects, taking 1 or 2 villagers with them. The people who were taken, they never came back. One painting even shows what looks like a UFO, a disc-shaped object with 3 legs, probably used to land on the ground. And then there are these humanoid figures with spikes around their heads, almost as if they were wearing spacesuits. Number 16. Camonica Valley astronauts. The Camonica Valley in Italy is home to one of the biggest collections of rock art, with hundreds of images and symbols carved onto the stone. The art spans from about 10,000 years ago to the 18th century, but the most interesting pieces are the ones created by the ancient Comuni civilization. These people are a mystery. We don't know much about how they lived and haven't even found their city centers or tools.
We have a lot of 5-point star here on this rock, but we don't know what they meaning when they did this particular geometric shape.
One of the region's most famous rock art, the astronauts, is said to be around 8,000 years old. It features weird creatures with helmets on their heads. The lines around them make it look like the helmets have some kind of spikes, or maybe they are glowing. The figures are holding what appear to be tools, or maybe their hands are tools. Did ancient humans witness aliens touching down on Earth? Or could it be that the aliens left these petroglyphs, marking their arrival for future generations? Number 17. Tassili Niger. Over 9,000 years ago, the Sahara wasn't the endless desert we know today. Back then, it was wetter, greener, and full of life. While the environment has changed completely, the rock art in Tassili Niger, located in southeastern Algeria, has survived. The region itself feels otherworldly, and the art, well, it's just as strange. Among the carvings, you'll find humanoid figures with oversized heads and almond-shaped eye features that scream extraterrestrial.
This 3-meter-tall painting of a godlike figure is the oldest painting in the area. His biceps and horns are symbols of power and strength.
Skeptics argue they're just ancient humans, but let's be real. No point in human evolution explains people looking like that. And how do you explain the figures with horns on their heads and more coming out of their elbows? Some say these might be depictions of deities, but here's a thought. What if the idea of deities came from seeing beings like this in the first place? Others brush it off as artistic experimentation, but nothing about this can be definitively proven. So, are we looking at ancient interactions with beings from other worlds, or is it only art? The truth might remain a mystery forever, but imagining the possibilities is fun. Number 18. Amazon Cliff Painting. The Amazon rainforest still has unexplored areas, so researchers always uncover new things. In 2020, they found cliff paintings that had never been documented before, and these are estimated to be over 12,500 years old. Thousands of these paintings show Ice Age giants and animals that went extinct long ago. But the real head-scratcher? A group of X shapes that look a lot like chromosomes. Then there's this bizarre figure with wavy arms that are longer than its entire body. And inside its shape, there seem to be smaller, different creatures hidden. Was this a giant creature hitchhiking some other weird beings along with it? Number 19. Geoglyph. Cave paintings and petroglyphs were ancient ways to pass down knowledge. But if you're still convinced they're just random art, explain how rock art symbols and figures found their way to geoglyphs. Massive designs like the Nazca lines that can only be seen from above. These weren't just made to preserve memories. They were created to communicate. Some people believe they were either made by aliens or specifically for them.
The Paracas imbued their funerary textiles with meaning, and Delia is particularly interested in their symbolism.
It kind of makes sense. Maybe humans who encountered aliens decided to work together to send them a message. Others think these lines represent spiritual or cosmological beliefs. Either way, they're way more than just art. Number 20. Kimberley rock art. Remember the Wanjinas? Their petroglyphs can be found along the Kimberley coast, but this area has even more to offer. Other Aboriginal rock paintings here show different humanoid figures from the Wanjina. These figures have slim, slender man-like bodies. Some have heads resembling jellyfish, while others look somewhat like Egyptian gods. They're often painted in groups of varying sizes. So, who or what are they? Could they be creations or companions of the Wanjinas? Or maybe another group of aliens that visited the region? Number 21. Horseshoe Canyon. Not far from Moab is another rock art site that totally deserves its own spotlight, the Great Gallery in Horseshoe Canyon. This spot has life-sized and even larger than human figures painted right onto the canyon walls. These figures, some up to 6 feet tall, are often called giants or supernatural beings. Many of them have those oversized heads and almond-shaped eyes we usually associate with aliens. Skeptics, as always, chalk them up to deities or shamanic visions. What's wild is that these figures don't have arms or legs, and one even has horn-like things sticking out of its head, maybe a crown for the alien leader. The thing is, these petroglyphs are older than a lot of the other rock art we've seen. So here's the real question. How did people living thousands of years apart and miles away from each other end up drawing similar beings? Could they really all have had the same visions? Or were these aliens making pit stops on Earth at different times? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Number 22. Wyoming handprints. Now, let's talk about a different kind of petroglyph on White Mountain in Wyoming. These aren't paintings, but something even stranger. Handprints, seemingly melted into the sandstone. The weird part is that these handprints are giant. While they have 5 fingers like ours, the shape doesn't quite match human anatomy. And how did they soften stone enough to make these impressions? Did they have some kind of stone softening power? Or was this the work of aliens showing off their abilities? Because softening stone takes massive heat. And last I checked, humans don't have superheated hands. Number 23. Talampaya petroglyphs. Let's move towards South America, specifically to Talampaya National Park in Argentina. This place is a UNESCO World Heritage Site because of its different landscapes and fossil sites. But our focus is the petroglyphs scattered across the rock formations here, believed to be anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 years old. These carvings give us a peek into the lives of the people who created them. But here's where it gets interesting. Many of the human-like figures look anything but realistic. Experts think the creators had a deep spiritual connection to natural forces, or maybe they were entirely in contact with something else. Mixed in with the humanoid shapes, you'll find geometric patterns like spirals that we'll dive into later. But think about it. Why carve them onto stone if these figures weren't a regular part of their lives? Brushing off the alien theory might be too convenient. Number 24. Mummy. Finding cave paintings of aliens is one thing, but stumbling across an actual alien body? That's a whole other level. According to some sources, a group of grave robbers raided an underground citadel in the Nazca region and claimed to have found a mummified blue alien. They even recorded it on video. The catch? There hasn't been much investigation into it since, well, grave robbing is illegal, and the culprits can't say who they are or where they found it. Many believe it's a hoax, but what do you think? And that wraps up our journey through ancient art. So, what do you think? Did aliens visit humans in the past or not? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and hit the little bell to get notified whenever we post more content just for you. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.